Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Before this cart leaves, I thought we'd do a quick review on it. Some people expressed some interest on it, what we thought of the tracks and everything. This is an Unverferth 1319 grain cart. I'm pretty sure the 13 stands for 1300 bushel, and the 19 is the year model, if I'm not mistaken. I should probably know that, but I don't. I'm fairly positive.
Sounds good.
Yeah, it sounds good. Unverferth was nice enough to lend this to us for the for last fall harvest, so we did use it the from September through, well, right up till we finished into November. Like before Thanksgiving.
2 days before.
Yes. But yeah, so we've got quite a bit of hours with it. I'm going to give you my perspective from a combine operator. I was the one dumping grain into this most of the time, and my brother BJ, he was the one running the grain cart, so kind of got two different perspectives we can share. I guess I'll start by saying the cart we have a grain cart ourselves. It's a J&M 1100 bushel cart. It's also a single auger design. That's one thing I like about grain. I like grain carts with a single auger. Just less stuff to go wrong, in my opinion. The J&M also has that, but one thing that stuck out to me right off the beginning was how much taller the J&M cart is than this one. This one's very short to the ground. It feels like from the cab. It looks like it. It's also wider. Part of that, I believe, is because it's a 1300 bushel cart. I don't know if the J&Ms are like that, but that's one thing that just stuck out to me as soon as I pulled up to this cart was, wow, this thing is a lot different dumping into it. It's a lot easier to dump into. One thing, it might be a little bit of a drawback if you have a bigger head. Like it'd be hard for me to run a 45-foot platform head and reach this end of the cart. I can really barely get to the middle now. Not a huge deal if you have a longer auger. But yeah, that's one thing I really liked about it. The large capacity, I'm a firm believer now that 1300 bushel would be the way to go. When we're running two combines in corn even, it's not, you always want extra capacity. Basically, we can each dump twice. So that's really nice to have. We've had as much as, we've had 85,000 pounds on it, didn't we?
86.
So that's over 1,400 bushel. That's good test weight corn, but. So that's nice. 1,300 bushel is definitely how I would like to go going forward when we buy another cart or whatever. But those are things that stuck out to me from the cab. So my brother, he can give you what he thought of running it.
As far as like the height of it, I mean, I'm personally curious. Do you think that changes with tires?
I don't know.
Yeah, that's something we'd have to ask the Unverferth guys. I don't know.
Because I know the frame is wider. This thing is wide. It sticks out quite a bit further than our other cart.
Yeah. So from an operator standpoint, being in the cab of the tractor, didn't even really know it was behind you unless you were going up a grade and you had 86,000 pounds of grain on.
We were pulling this with a 1038 Challenger tractor, so I mean it was a fairly heavy tractor as well. But we also never pulled through heavy mud, so right. I've heard a lot of people say that tracks take away. It's harder to pull tracks than it probably would be if we were pulling through a lot of mud.
Yeah, the worst pulling day was the day we pulled through the creek. That was the hardest day, I would say, pulling the cart. Also, we did run it a little bit on the 865.
It was an 875E Challenger tractor.
So that was kind of interesting, having tracks, pulling tracks. I don't know if that combination is popular in a lot of places, but it was definitely different. Yeah, pulling the cart. It was kind of odd or different getting used to turning this cart. It's been a long time since I ran a grain cart, period. Never ran a grain cart with tracks. It seemed that maybe it tore out ground in the field.
Yeah, you gotta watch. I mean, you can burn it if you turn really short.
And sometimes you just can't help that. That's all you can do just based on where you're at. I think it's probably easier in tight quarters to turn a cart that has tires as opposed to tracks. It's simple, efficient, got the job done, right?
Yeah. There is more maintenance with tracks. There's lots of grease points on it. This cart's equipped with an auto lube system, so that was nice. But there still are, I think they're 50-hour fittings, or maybe they're. I don't think
there are actually some 3-hour fittings. No, I'm sorry, daily fittings right there. But they're all on like a
grease bank. So
yeah,
they're
like
easy
a manifold
to get to.
that you just take your grease gun right to.
Yeah, so that part's pretty easy to get to.
The tracks were a little bit more difficult to grease, and it wasn't difficult. It's just crawling underneath the thing and getting grease to it.
One thing you got to keep your tracks clean. That's just the nature of tracks. Like I said, we didn't have a really muddy fall, so it really wasn't that big of an issue for us. Just watching some other YouTubers fighting mud with tracks in the cold, that doesn't look fun, but hey, it is what it is.
This thing was brand new when we got it, right?
Yeah.
Because we actually had to condition the tracks. We threw some talc on it. I don't know, the first week or so.
Yeah, for the first few hours we were supposed
and
to do
it was really dry enough when we started that a lot of the places that we were using it, I mean,
it was dusty.
Dust
enough.
was pretty well doing the job.
Correct. Yeah. This track is equipped with their Equalizer track, which it's a little bit different than the standard track. One, I'm pretty sure you can get it wider, but it'll oscillate. And like for example, one big part where it's popular is if you do a lot of traveling on the road, it will contour to the crown of the road, which will save wear on your tracks. Around here, depending on the driveways, I can see where it flexes a little bit. That's a pretty hefty upgrade. I guess if I was buying a grain cart, I don't know. I'd really have to think on that. We've never had tracks, and like I say, we are in some pretty sandy soils, so tracks aren't as prevalent in this area. But this does have the Equalizer track, and I have no complaints with it. I mean, as far as tracks go, they ran fine.
If I were buying a cart and it was going to have tracks on it, I would probably go that route because it felt extremely stable.
Okay.
Like any place that we were loading that wasn't necessarily an even or flat ground or a little bit of a slope to it, it really felt, I mean, you didn't feel like it was going anywhere.
Okay.
That it was supposed to.
One thing that's a little bit different about their track system versus others, this is not an oil bath hubs. These are greasable hubs. The way they kind of described that to me was, how many times do you check your oil baths? And I was like, oh, well, that's a good point. Probably not as often as we should. It's pretty easy to hit them with grease when you're walking by. And plus, if you do take them through water or something like that, or heavy mud, it should hold up a little bit better than an oil bath, perhaps. Some of the specs on this grain cart, this is a 20-inch auger. It's rated at 650 bushels per second, or not per second, that'd be really fast. 650 bushels per minute, which is fast enough. It has a 4-way spout, so you can flip it in and out, or you can turn it sideways, which that's the first time I've ever ran a 4-way spout. It was, you're kind of in frame, so you might as well be in the. But that was the first time I ran a 4-way spout. It was pretty handy. You can really load a nice legal weight on a truck efficiently.
What I just heard was 650 bushels a minute, so I was taking too long to load trucks.
Yes. For those of you that don't know or maybe new to the channel, this was BJ's first year back at the farm for a while, so he's still getting a little reacquainted around the cart. He did get better towards the end, though. If you want to see something funny, go back to like video 4 of Harvest and see him overrun that.
That's pretty fired up.
Yeah, he overran the truck pretty good with
I
this
was
thing.
really worked up. Turns out Brian and Dad were like, yeah, no big deal.
Yeah. One thing that's a nice feature about this cart, the way that this folds out, it really puts the auger closer to being in line with your window here. But that auger is really far set forward to where you're not really having to turn back as far to look at it while you're loading the truck. It's nice. It's not something that really stuck out to me as soon as I hopped in the tractor. He ran the cart the most, but it's also the first time he's ran a cart in a while, so that's...
Well, I mean, it was a lot. I mean, I can remember years ago when I think we always had, like, did we have a Kinsey?
Kill Brothers.
Kill Brothers. I know it started with a K. But it seemed like that, like you had to crane your neck and bend to get a good view.
Yeah, but this was in the 90s, so it's been a while. But
technology has changed quite a bit. So.
Yeah. Also, it has a really nice lighting package. There's a couple LEDs on the auger right here, and I mean they light it up really well. Our previous cart, it only had one. I don't think it was an LED either, but I mean no complaints there. And then it also has, it has plenty of lights on the side of it too. You can definitely see this thing going through the field. It has a tarp that's pretty standard. You can't get an electric tarp. This is a manual tarp. I know, poor BJ.
It's rough, but I made it.
Yep. One thing this one doesn't have, which I would probably get going with the next one, would be a moisture sensor. That is an option you can put on any of their carts. I'm pretty positive. A couple things that I would maybe change on their design. This piece right here is how you go from transport to field mode. It's not bad. I think it could be a little bit easier, but that's, you basically just, what do you do, slide that up to put it in field mode after you raise the auger?
It actually, at the beginning of the year when we first started, this thing was a pain because it was very stiff
and brand new
and all that good stuff. At the end of the year, I mean, it was nothing. You just kind of move that out. Obviously, you do this with the auger in the extended position. Pull a couple pins here, slide the stop up, lock it in, you're there.
One other thing I would maybe change, I would probably put my ladder, I like it closer to the side here just because I don't know, every time I get in it, I need to get up to the front of it, it seems like. This one's kind of in the middle. Not a huge deal. I would prefer it be on the other side and closer to the front. Maybe that might just be personal preference, but that's something that stuck out to me. This grain cart is equipped with their U-Harvest. This is a Raven control. I think it's a Raven ECM or computer. I'll go up to the cab and show you how that works. That is their scale interface. It's a little bit different than the Digistar system that most carts come with. I'm pretty sure it is an option that can be added to I think to most of their carts. So the way the U-Harvest works, it ties into the tractor ISO system. Then it comes into your tractor display. So you don't have another monitor in here, because if you look, we have plenty of monitors in this tractor. So right here is your display. This particular tractor is not the most easy to use it just because you don't have a touch screen. The 1038 we ran this on, which is not here, or I would have it hooked up to it right now. Much easier, it's all touch screen. Basically you would come over to this dial, like we're going to start a new job, select our grower, select our farm, select our field, and then you can put your crop name in and your acres and everything. And then it will keep track of all that stuff for you, tell you your rough yield. Doesn't take into account moisture. If you had the moisture tester, it would, which that's why I would probably go with the moisture tester, just to keep our moisture sensor, just to keep a little bit more accurate records. One thing I really like about this system, on the back end of things, this system is great for record keeping. I was able to print off reports that showed how much grain we had at each grain setup, how much grain Brown Farms had, how much grain, I mean, basically however I wanted to make a report from which farm, how much grain from this farm was there, how much grain from that farm. It was really nice. I could tell right down to how many loads each truck hauled. Now all that depends on this guy doing his job. So, but he did a pretty good job. What did you think of the system running it?
After I got used to it, it was really nice. And really, it's not even that bad on this monitor. This is kind of the same monitor that was in the 875.
It is the same.
It really wasn't bad after I figured out how. No one showed me how to use the little dial on the side, which I kind of learned out myself. Typing data entry on this monitor was not as fun.
Yeah, we did try to put all the data in with the touchscreen before we switched to the tractors.
I actually did have to change some field name, or put some field names in on this style monitor.
Did you feel like you were T9 texting back in the day?
Yeah, I feel like I had like the old Pantech flip phone out. It was like.
Yep. But my uncle, he also runs the grain cart a lot. He is who usually was running the cart last year, and with that cart we run a J&M iFarm. He liked the iFarm a lot better, but that's just what he's used to. So it took him forever to figure out how to use the iFarm. So I think that with enough time, like I said, BJ ran it all year. He had no complaints with it. And yeah, it works fine. I like it. Like I say, for record keeping, it is really nice. Yeah, guys, that's the Unverferth grain cart. I know one of the big questions people are going to have is tracks or no tracks. I don't know. That's going to depend on your soil type, I think, a lot, your climate. Like I say, around here, we could probably get away without it. That being said, I liked having the tracks for one thing. Tracks do not stick out any further than the cart, whereas if we had 1250s on this, they're going to stick out probably a foot on each side. I don't want the cart any wider than it has to be. So in a perfect world, I would definitely go with tracks. There is quite a cost to go with tracks, but I kind of think it would probably be worth it. You're going to save some compaction. It's going to be more compact, easier to get around. As far as what I've seen with compaction in the field, I never dug any soil pits or anything like that, so I can't say that I actually seen the compaction. The track that you make, though, when you're driving a track or a cart with tracks that's loaded with 1,300 bushel worth of grain, you're just going straight down. Whereas with a tire, you kind of have a rounded like tire track. So at first glance, these look like they compact more, but I'm pretty confident they don't. I mean, where I planted wheat in fields that we ran the cart in, we loaded 200 and some acres of soybeans in one spot, had no issues planting that wheat. That wheat all came up through those tracks, so I mean, that says something there. And I mean, like my brother said, the Equalizer track system, it does work pretty well. So yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on the tracks. I think you just have to weigh it out for your situation. Like, what kind of soils do I have? What kind of weather do we usually have during harvest? And what does our harvest window look like? I know from doing this YouTube thing and watching other farmers in other parts of the country, especially in Minnesota area, it looks like tracks are basically a necessity. Like I say, around here, there's not a lot of track grain carts. There's a lot of wheeled grain carts. But I think that we would lean towards tracks if possible on our next cart. Just my thoughts on it. Like I said, that's a decision you're gonna have to make. But that pretty much concludes the cart video, guys. This video is being filmed in January. I'll be in Louisville next week. I'll probably be at the Unverferth booth at some point. Got to know a few of those guys. Probably check out their latest products. So if you're down in Louisville at the National Farm Machinery Show, be sure to check them out. And yeah, we'll see you there.